The convergence of the end of the year and the holidays is when all of your circles overlap in obvious and less obvious ways. Hello, 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 and welcome to More Than Money, where we have nuanced conversations about money, business, and life, where we take the time to explore the human side of money because success with money is never just about the numbers. I'm your host, Jacquette Timmons, and I am really, really glad that you are joining me today. Okay, we are now 6 episodes away from an incredible milestone, which is our 200th episode. And while I've received a few submissions, I would really, really love if I heard from you too. So please help me to celebrate this incredible milestone by sharing with me a question that you have, or maybe it's a question that others ask you, because my intent is to dedicate that 200th episode to it simply being me answering in your voice, in your ear, or on your screen, the answers to those questions, and at least as best I can, because I have no idea what some of you may ask. But to give you a sense of some questions that have come in that might, resonate with you, questions that are related to, the financial stress in your life or your business. What are some ideas on handling that? Maybe it's about how do you talk about wills and estate planning with your parents, particularly when they are just not ready to have those conversations with you. That's very different when your parents do that versus when they don't. Or maybe your question relates to the ripple effects of a major life decision that you are about to make or you already have. Maybe it's like getting a divorce or getting married. These are just a few examples of the different kinds of questions that have come in. And hopefully those will give you some ideas to get your juices flowing. And remember, you can submit your questions anonymously. So just go to jacquettetimmons.com/more than money -200. Again, jacquettetimmons.com/more than money -200. Share your question with me and I'll answer it on the 200th episode. And I know I've repeated this before, but it bears repeating. If you tried to go to the page and you had a problem, it's now been fixed. So yeah, there's no excuse. Submit your question. Again, I hope that you will help me to celebrate the 200th episode. And I really appreciate you taking a moment to help me do that. Now, on to today's show. If you are stationary, I want you to take out pen and paper and just draw a circle. If you are on the move or otherwise engaged, maybe you're listening to this or watching this while you're cooking dinner or doing some other errand, well, then just picture a circle. And when you think about it, the shape of a circle is elegantly simple. It is just one continuous line, right? With no beginning and no end. And that reflects a journey that really says the endings are quote unquote preludes to new beginnings. And it is the perfect visual aid for helping you to brainstorm and explore abstract concepts and tap into your creativity. It's one of the reasons why I love a mind map. It is a visual metaphor for setting boundaries that can help you make some really thoughtful, balanced, and comprehensive choices about both what happens inside that circle as well as what's on the outside of it, especially if you don't want what's on the outside to come in. And that's where the circle can take on the attributes perhaps of a shield, where again, you are protecting what is inside and you're keeping what's on the outside that you don't want to cross that line outside. And its simplicity is revealing from the standpoint of how you can use that continuous journey, the visual representation of that continuous journey to kind of reflect and reveal how it is that you learn from past decisions how you adapt to new information and data, and how you use that to adjust your game plan when your circumstances require. And I think that that simplicity is extremely undervalued, because that simplicity, as I said, it's a part of your continuous journey. And it is precisely why the financial wheel framework starts with a circle. And if you haven't done it, or if you haven't done it in a while, especially given the time of the year where we are at the moment, now might be a good time to do it again. So go to jacquettetimmons.com/wheel. Again, jacquettetimmons.com/wheel. And if you do, or if you need it as a reminder, the financial wheel gives you a chance to look at the 4 things that very broadly you can do with your money. And you're able to look at it on an individual level and then also on a collective level. And it helps you to see the relationship between all of the quadrants: save, invest, spend, and earn. And it really, really reminds you of how you cannot make a decision in any area of your money without it having a ripple effect on one or several of the other areas. Fundamentally, the financial wheel is a way of saying, this is how I want to experience money in all of these different domains, in all of these different quadrants. And this is what I want money to do for me in all of these different domains, in all of these different quadrants. When you draw the financial wheel, what you are doing is giving yourself a chance to, really reflect again what it is that you want money to do for you, right? And I'm repeating that because it can be illuminating to draw another circle and create quadrants that reflect different dimensions of your life. So whereas the financial wheel is leading with money and money's impact on other domains of your life, this other wheel is saying to take a step back from money and focus on those other areas. So it could be family is one quadrant, social, maybe that is friends, peers, and colleagues, knowledge, right? Whether that's education or other things that you do to boost up your knowledge, your expertise, or to feed your intellectual curiosity, if you will. Another domain would be business or professional life, or you could just call that career. And another domain could be well-being. What are you doing to take care of yourself physically, emotionally, and spiritually, if that's relevant? And let's refer to this other circle with all of these other different domains and quadrants, if you will, as the circle of life. And this circle also gives you a chance to say what it is you want to have, what you want to do, and what you want to experience in each domain, along with what you don't. Because by declaration of declaring what it is that you want, you, without even having to say it, but sometimes you need to say it, it also is an indication of what you don't want. And what it helps you to do is to help you, just like with the financial wheel, look at each domain individually as well as collectively. And it also gives you a chance to define what are your boundaries and expectations, those that you need to set for yourself and those that you need to communicate to others. And if you are an entrepreneur or small business owner listening to my voice right now, you would also benefit from drawing another circle, one that reflects your different offers and the types of clients and the customers that you have. And again, the reason that you want to do this is that it helps you to see aspects of your business model on an individual and collective basis. So now we've got 3 circles, right? At a minimum, if you will, that we're working with. The financial wheel is a circle, the circle of life with all of the different dimensions that I've already stated there. And then if you have a business, you've got your business circle. And of course, you know already that everything is intertwined. However, things get very, very, very interesting when you set 2 or 3 circles side by side, because this is when you actually have an opportunity to see the flow between them, because it comes into sharper focus. And this sharper focus, it makes more tangible the ripple effects of how making a decision in one area, say your business, is bound to show up in one or several other areas. So, say your personal finances, your family, and maybe your social quadrant. And in fact, if you really want to geek out, here's what I would suggest. First, create a high-level Venn diagram to explore the intersection of money, business, and life. And then second, map out any upcoming decisions that you are contemplating and draw lines that illustrate all of the different areas, all of the different ways that you know of or can anticipate in terms of what other areas will be affected, impacted, if you will, by that decision or by those decisions. The benefit of doing an exercise like this is that it shows all of the areas of commonality in terms of shared goals, as well as the areas that might cause you some conflict and stress because you've got competing priorities between one domain and another domain. And let me tell you, while, listening to me talk about all these different circles and all of the different lines might seem, a little muddled right now, when you actually sit down and do it, there is nothing like seeing this on paper versus knowing it conceptually in your head. So as I'm expressing it, it may seem like, lines are going all over the place and you're like, where is everything? But when you sit down to draw it, it becomes, again, something that is in sharper focus. And I bring all of this up because for such a simple image, circles are powerful, metaphorically and practically. As I mentioned earlier, the shape reflects a continuous journey, which is analogous to the process of making decisions and making choices. That too is a continuous journey, right? You make a decision, you make a choice, you get some feedback. Maybe you repeat that, or maybe you decide, I'm gonna do something else. But here's what else the circular shape does. It sparks creativity, going back to the mind map. It sparks creativity by inviting you to consider multiple options and possibilities in a way that just listing things and listing them in, a particular order just simply doesn't. And because of its circular nature and the creativity that sparks, that may lead to better decisions and better choices overall. It also reminds you that while a circle is just a defined shape, it can accommodate movement within it. Excuse me. You can actually shift how much space you are allocating to each domain. And so as a result, it invites you to be adaptable and flexible and to do those things based upon the change or the evolution in your circumstances and the context thereof. It encourages you to take a holistic approach to your decisions and choices. And it reminds you that, what the circle does is it protects what's inside from what you don't want to have, do, or experience. I am fascinated by circles because they help you to better prioritize your resources of energy, time, and money as you choose the trade-offs that you will need to make. So the circle helps you to figure out if these are the things that I want to do, and this is how they're all going to interact and have a ripple effect on other things. What does that mean in terms of the different trade-offs? Like, what does that concatenation look like if I make trade-off A versus if I make trade-off B? And that's a really great way to check in with yourself and like really get confirmation on if what you say you want to have, do, and experience, and the cost of that is really what you actually want. And then finally, I know I've had a lot there. Finally, it helps you to better manage your expectations as well as better manage the expectations of others. So why all this talk about circles? Why bring up an episode and dedicate it to the financial wheel circle, the circle of life? And if you have a business, your business circle. Well, for starters, it takes a lot of courage to actually claim what it is that you want, right? And in a way, when you're doing, whether it's the financial wheel, the circle of life, or business, you are professing, this is what I want. And that then creates the opportunity in this space for you to be deliberate about your decisions and your choices and to set boundaries, again, with yourself and with others. And the way that I look at it, I think of doing all of that as the ultimate form of self-advocacy, especially at this time of the year when the ramp up to year end is in full on effect. This is when the rubber really, really hits the road, because for any of the goals that you have yet to achieve, you now have less time to do so. And this may have an impact on how strong you finish the year, whatever finishing the year strong actually means to you. Similarly, the holidays are fast approaching. And even if you don't personally celebrate any of the traditional fall holidays, you may have family members who do, or close friends who do. And that may mean that there's travel and hosting that may have an impact on your personal finances. Additionally, the holidays may have an impact on your business or your business finances in terms of cash flow, sales, profitability. And when we think of the convergence of the end of the year and the holidays, this is when all of your circles overlap in obvious and less obvious ways. This concatenation can bring about a heightened level of stress for even the most prepared amongst us, particularly when you realize that you don't really have, as the calendar says, at least at the time of this recording, 8 weeks until the end of the year. You don't have that. It's more like 5 weeks. I know, right? Oh my God. And it's 5 weeks because November and December are abbreviated months for most people. And given this convergence, I suspect that you are going to need to practice self-advocacy in terms of what you say yes or no to. And this is the time of the year where you are going to get a lot of opportunities, your fair share, to say no and yes to things. And not all of them will feel as straightforward, comfortable, and or guilt-free as you might prefer. So enter the power of circles and why I believe they can serve as your best shield. So if you haven't done it, or, didn't think that maybe I don't want to do this, maybe this is an invitation to do this, right? To sit down, redo the financial wheel if you haven't done it recently, do the circle of life. And if you have a business, create one for your business, because circles are a tremendously great way to center your awareness, to anchor your responses in terms of your yes and no's, and to acknowledge your capacity in as clear-eyed a way as possible. And I can't think of another way to enter in the ramp up until the end of the year and the ramp up for the holiday season than that. The goal and the intent of being as clear-eyed as possible. Well, that is it for today, folks. As always, thank you for listening all the way until the end, or if you are watching on YouTube, for doing that. And before you hop, here are 3 things. 1, the next pricing masterclass is on Thursday, December 7th at 4 p.m. So go to jacquettetimmons.com/pricing-masterclass to learn more about it and to RSVP if it's a right fit for you. Second, don't forget about my invitation to submit a question so that you can help me celebrate the 200th episode. For that, go to jacquettetimmons.com/more than money -200. And if today's episode sparked an aha or a reflection, or if you do indeed do the circles, I'd love to hear more about it. So please send me a DM on Instagram. But once more, thank you for listening today. If you'd like to show appreciation for this podcast or this particular episode, please share it so that we can reach more people. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts specifically, please leave a rating and a review because that does help us extend our reach. And besides, we read what you got to say. And if you'd like to buy me a coffee, please do that by going to buymeacoffee.com/Jacquette, buymeacoffee.com/Jacquette. I'll be back with another episode, and I hope you will too. Until then, remember, it's about more than money.